We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it's Tuesday, but I'm recording it Monday night. And I've been pretty excited about doing this particular podcast. Now, you hear the regular guests that I have on here, and all the guests are listeners of the podcast. And we've gotten some great ones to come on, and they'll be coming back as well. But today we have a guest that you've never met. But I will say this, everybody talks about how long I've known Ed, who comes on the show frequently, and I've known him 25, 35 years. This guy I've known probably 55 years. And the only reason I know that is because I met him when I was playing football at the park board when I was 10 years old. That's when I started playing football. Uh, this is Mike. I don't know if you want to give your last name or not. Not everybody does.
Don't matter to me.
Okay, his name is Mike Medvick, and I grew up with this guy, played football with this guy. We went to junior high school together. We went to separate high schools, but we were all still pretty close, so we all got drunk and crazy together, even though we went to different high schools. So I've known Mike a long time, and we see each other on Facebook now and again, and we're of a like mind because he's a raging liberal like me too. And people always say to me, I think what confuses Trumplafucks is that I don't look like a raging liberal. I look like a Trumplafuck. But you have all the attributes of what a Trumplafuck might have. And and maybe you can explain that. The way I thought about having him on is after the shooting of Alex Preddy, he went down to the scene and a local news reporter talked to him and just tell him how that all went because it obviously had an impact on you. And that interview said, God, Meddy's smarter than I fucking thought.
Well, I was sitting at home after the shooting, and I'm a lifelong, born and raised South Minneapolis kid. I still live in South Minneapolis. I love South Minneapolis. And I just had this hole in my stomach after I saw the shooting, and I thought I needed to go there. And for whatever reason, I was walking by, some CBS reporter wanted to interview me. And if you haven't seen it, I think you can go to CBS's Instagram account and scroll down, you'll see the guy in the black hat. I got a camo hoodie on with my sunglasses. And I think everybody there thought I fucking belonged to ICE.
Yeah.
But I just felt the need to go there. And I said that I love South Minneapolis. I can't stand to see what's happening here. I believe that they killed him in cold blood. And I said that it could have just as easily been me getting shot. And he said, oh, why do you think that? Well, Alex was shot outside of Glam Donuts, and I love donuts. Alex was a Minnesota permit holder, and I'm a Minnesota permit holder. And if I came out of the store with my donuts and saw them, what they did to that lady by pushing her down, I would have had my camera out. I would have been filming it, or I would have went and helped her, and I would be the one dead. And, people think that's kind of extravagant, but it's real. That's
Well,
how I felt.
it's not, Alex could have said that the day before and people said, oh, you're crazy. But look what happened. That was a horrible event. You tell them what you told the guy from CBS before they interviewed you. I love that part of it. How you don't watch anymore.
Oh, well, I don't watch fucking CBS News anymore because they paid fucking Trump $17 million because of the interview on 60 Minutes where they felt that they edited Kamala Harris's interview to make her look better. And fucking CBS gave him $17 million. So I quit
And you
watching.
told him that.
I told
And you
him that.
told him that.
And he was very good about it, saying, hey, we can't control everything that happens at CBS, and we don't agree with everything that happens at CBS. And I said, well, I quit watching you.
I've talked about this. I've talked about this before. We grew up in the same area. We went to different high schools, but we basically grew up in the same hood. We all hung out together and such. And one of the things that troubles me most, there are events that go back to high school and stuff like that. I'm reluctant because as much as there are people like you and I, it's not just you and I. There are other people that I know that have a similar mind to us. It's really troubling to me, and I don't understand how you can go back to a neighborhood where we all grew up pretty much the same, and we have so many Trump humpers in the midst out there. It just seems I don't get how they're that stupid. They went to the same schools we went to.
Well, I'll tell you, and I'm honest, and I'm not choosing sides, but there's a lot more Trump pumpers at Roosevelt than there is at South.
You're probably right.
South was a more eclectic school with more diversity. We had a huge American Indian population in our school. That is probably why had the second highest dropout rate in the state, next to Red Lake Indian Reservation. But Roosevelt seemed to have a little more white kids, period.
Well, you're absolutely right. We grew up. You went to South. I would have gone to South. We moved, then I went to Roosevelt, but we all hung out together. And South was more diverse. Roosevelt, where I went, if you looked at it in the '70s, it looked very much like a suburban school because
Yep.
there were black kids and there were Native kids and there were other kids, but they were very few and far between. Um, and you're right. That may be. Do you notice that with your common friends, Roosevelt and South friends? Do you see
We
more of the
still
Roosevelt friends?
there's still a couple Trump pumpers on my side. I get together with coffee with a bunch of high school buddies, and there's a couple still calling Gulf of America, and the subtle hints that let you know that they're Trump pumpers. But I think they are afraid to show their true colors. But to me, here's a your folks might laugh at this, but here's kind of the difference between South and Roosevelt growing up. When we were in high school, we were Motown. We were, hey, let's put on some P Funk or some Wild Cherry or some
Yeah.
average white band, and we'd go to a Roosevelt party with the music, and all the Roosevelt guys would be lined up on the wall wearing their leather jackets and wearing clogs, and we'd come in and dance with all their girlfriends, and they'd all be pissed off because the South High guys were stealing all their girls. That's a
Yeah.
fact.
That is a fact, and
That
and
is a
and to be
fact.
honest with you,
We were
that
funner.
while we were friends and we went to each other's parties, there definitely was a rivalry
Oh yeah.
between the two, and it's interesting that you note the difference in the culture because if you're going to South, you're going more toward Lake Street and that
Yep.
kind of area, and there were kids that were poor. You were kind of right on the line, and I initially was right on the line. So you went to South, I went to Roosevelt, and Roosevelt was a much different vibe. And I do, I talk to people from South too, and I do note that there are people from Roosevelt that I would have never imagined would be Trump pumpers that would be that stupid. And I just can't even talk to them now because I don't want to get into it with people I've known for 50 years.
It is hard. It is hard to do. I really like what you had to say about one of your friends where you just have so many good memories with them. And now that you know that he's a Trump pumper, you just don't go there with him because you want to savor the memories that you had growing up with that particular individual. And sometimes that's what we have to do.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's the thing is, I've said before, when you die, all you really got, all your toys, all your possessions, the only thing you got is memories.
Yep.
And if you start losing them now, Mike is talking about a good friend of mine that I grew up with, and I talked to him years ago during the first term, and he seemed to be a Trump bumper. And after that, I just kind of stayed away. He only lives about a mile or two away from me, but I don't see him much. He has his life, I have my life. And the reason I don't approach him is, like Med said, I got a lot of great memories, and I don't want to ruin those memories by hating the guy now.
Yep, that's very well said. And I have a couple friends I feel the same way. We still have fun. There are certain times when you get together with friends, you just don't talk politics because it's just not going to end out good. Kind of like religion, what do they say? Religion and politics and where your wife likes to take it. You just don't go there, you know?
Well, and you go back to those days, the '70s, and politics was never an issue. Nobody ever talked about
No.
fucking politics. You were worried about who's going to buy you beer. You didn't give a
Well,
shit about
but on
politics.
top of that, I think back then we were a little closer on both sides. I mean,
Yeah,
there was
yeah,
never the separation that there is now. And, it was just easier to talk about it if you did. Hey, you're either DFL or you're a Republican. Oh, all right. Well, buy me some beer.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I've said to people before, we're well beyond. Republican versus Democrat or
Yeah, I agree.
conservative versus liberal. We are the difference between good and evil,
Yeah,
truth and lies,
it's
lawful
true.
and unlawful. And it's sad that we've come to that point. How do you think when you talk about the people we knew, how do they get in that spot? Because as far as we knew, they weren't that stupid, but they've really been sucked into a cult. You can't sit around and watch what's going on now and still be for it. I don't get it.
That is a tough one. I think it started in Minnesota when Jesse Ventura was voted in as governor. It's like people were sick of the Republicans, people were sick of the Democrats. Hey, let's try this new guy. That is the only freaking reason why Trump won the first election, I think, is because people were sick of the Republicans and people were sick of the Democrats. And, here you got this guy that's a TV star, billionaire. Everybody thought he was successful. And it's beyond me how in that day, in 2015 or 16, when he said
Yeah.
that, he can grab women by the pussy because they love it, how he even still was able to run for president. And that's when the moral compass of the United States of America and the political scene changed because they
Well,
didn't seem to care.
well, I think there's a faction of what I've always thought is when it comes to racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, some people think in the 90s and the 2000s things got better. My premise is it never got better. It's just that they hid under their rocks and were afraid to come out in public because they'd get shoved back down. But when Donald Trump came around, it was like, hey, it's cool to be racist now. It's cool to be a misogynist. He's on our side, so let's start screaming. And that's how I see how it all happened.
Well, and that's what started the separation between, you know, neighbors, friends, husband and wife. I mean, I know a couple where her husband is total MAGA and she's total liberal, and somehow they survive
How do
together.
you?
I
I
don't know
can't
how they do it.
imagine. No, I can't imagine. If my wife was MAGA or I was MAGA, somebody'd be fucking dead
Oh,
in my house.
my wife would divorce me, and it
Now,
wouldn't even be close.
we were talking on the phone the other day, and back in the day in the '70s and stuff, neither one of us were guys that were starting fights and getting into fights, but we had our tussles in our time. We had our fights. And you mentioned Greg Bavino, this 5'4", um, 5'4" punk ass bitch, and you had a wish, uh, and you're
Well, my
65 years old too.
my wish before that little fucking weasel, he's leaving tomorrow, so I probably won't get my wish. But everybody listening, fucking share to everybody you know. 65-year-old retired carpenter Mike Medvick wants Greg Bavino in a fucking cage match. That's what I want. I
And I will
want him
tell
in
you
a
this.
cage match.
I tell you this, when I talk to him on the phone, even at 65, um, he said, I'll call you in 20 minutes because I'm working out. Mike's in shape. I would bet on Mike in that situation. I was not working out at that point. I may have run to the bathroom, but that may be the extent of my exercise. But yeah, I wanted to talk to you about Bavino. This was an interesting
And
thing
Mike,
today.
I want Christy fucking Nome in the counter when I get done beating him. She can scrape some fucking putty off her face to cover up his bruises. How's
There you
that?
go. Well, it sounds like Greg Bavino and Christy Nome are in trouble.
Yep.
And I want to see how you perceive this because the media is looking at it a certain way. Um, Donald Trump came into Minneapolis with the intent of terrifying Minneapolis and other cities for that matter. And what he got in return was 75,000 people in the streets before Alex Preddy was killed, pushing back on this motherfucker. Then they kill Alex Preddy. They try to divert and try to spin it, but the video's right there. It's very clear that it was cold-blooded murder. And now Donald Trump seems to be retreating and kind of worried. Apparently, it's causing some problems in the White House. He came out today that He said, "Well, I had a nice conversation with Walls and Jacob Fry," which is weird because he's been calling them demons and Nazis and whatever the fuck he's been calling them. And then we find out first that it sounds like he's causing Greg Bovina to leave Minnesota, and there are other reports that he's just flat out fired. A lot of people are perceiving this as the pushback is working and Donald Trump is retreating. Do you get that same sense?
I get that same thing. I think when you see the pictures of Greg Bovino in his little outfit with his little leather strap coming down, I mean, it just reminds you of frickin' Germany, doesn't it? In the 30s, the little
Oh,
Nazi SS
absolutely. And I
squads,
think that's intentional.
and then he throws on the trench coat, and you can talk about Bovino, you can talk about Kristi Noem. I don't know if anybody saw the interview with Senator Kristi Noem, and she didn't even know what fucking habeas corpus was. She thought, well,
Right.
that's the president's right to, deport immigrants that are here illegally, And you got all these clowns that don't know what the fuck's going on. Bovino thinks he can march into Minneapolis, and people that know anything at all about Minneapolis, after what we went through with George Floyd, that we're a pretty tight-knit community. We love our city, and you got 3,000 SS looking frickin' ICE squadrons running up and down the street and pulling people out of their cars and smashing windows. And Bovino's, they're throwing fucking a gas canister like, a fucking kid in T-ball. And I mean, how can they even send a little squirt like that in here and think that he's going to gain the respect of anybody in Minneapolis?
Well, I will say that I saw him throw some cans of tear gas or whatever it is. Motherfucker throws like
He's
a
a guy you'd
girl.
put in fucking right field and he'd be picking dandelions in his ass, right?
Yeah, I
He'd be down at Longfellow Field picking fucking dandelions and pulling the underwear out of his ass.
I like to
No,
think that if he was with us at Sanford Junior High, somebody would have enough
no.
sense to kick his ass just for the way he looked.
I hate to say it, but back in junior high, there was some guys that picked on. Fossum was one that would pick on kids, and he would have been freaking giving him snuggies up and down the hallway and flicking his ears and taping them to the basketball hoop.
Well,
Yeah.
some people are looking at this as a retreat for Donald Trump, and this is typical of Donald Trump. When he starts losing, he's looking for blame. He's going to blame it on Bovino, but everybody knows Donald Trump is the leader of this whole thing. He can back off, he can retreat, but I think what he doesn't understand is you can't come into Minnesota. People always say Minnesota nice. I said, yeah, Minnesota nice until you fuck with them, and then they're
Yep.
going to fight. And that's exactly what they did. Um, but I think Donald Trump thinks he can redeem himself by pulling it back, and maybe he pulls all of ICE out, which would be a nice relief. But you still killed two people. You still put two little kids in fucking prisons. You're not going to redeem yourself. You're not going to save yourself now. This is the slide that every narcissist like him has. They keep fucking up, and that's what Donald Trump always does.
But we talked that fucker. How many lives has he used up already? And he just kind of seems to pull another one out of his ass. I mean,
Yeah. Well, that's
he's good at
true.
laying blame. So he'll lay the blame on Bovino. He'll lay the blame on Kristi Noem, and he'll throw another, fucking harebrain in there, and he thinks everything will be good. I mean, if you just look at what's happened with him in the first year, I mean, and one thing people aren't talking about anymore, the Epstein files. I
Yeah.
mean, he knows the gray areas, Mike. We know that about him, and I don't know. I trust me. I hope this is the spiral end of this narcissist fuck, but he's got some. He sheds his skin like a fucking snake.
Yeah, you can't. There have been many times during this whole period that I thought, well, this is it. This is it. And, I know a little bit about narcissists. I had a dad like that. I know how it all ends up. It ends up badly, no matter what. For the life of me, I thought Republicans might say, okay, he's a liability now, no longer an asset, and they would walk away from him. I cannot believe that the Republicans in Congress have stuck with them this long. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought they'd do that.
Well, Christy Nome has more fucking balls than any of them fucking guys, any of them Republican senators on fucking Capitol Hill. And I think now they're starting to get nervous. I mean, we're kind of seeing how some are siding with Democrats for the vote coming up about the funding for ICE. They're talking about maybe some of them are
Shut,
jumping the aisle on getting the Affordable Care Act extension. I think some of them are getting nervous, and I hope like hell the closer we get to the midterms that they're going to see that they're going to be fucked. Because
well, yeah,
I
when
just
I
think
know
that,
they're fucked, how do they not see it?
well, sooner or later they got it, because what's more important? The money that comes in from fucking Donald Trump or kissing his fucking billionaire boots, or their constituents? And the louder that their constituents start to scream, they're more worried about the vote than they are about fucking Donald Trump right now, because Donald Trump is fucking out of here in 3 years, hopefully sooner.
Yeah, hopefully sooner. Well,
Hopefully sooner.
yeah, the thing is that when we heard about all the protest and maybe why Donald Trump and the Republicans are nervous. We heard about the big protest in Minnesota. I was just watching Rachel Maddow or something. And while the big protest, 50, 75,000 people in Minnesota, we're not that big a town. So that many people coming out is pretty amazing. But they were showing video of Chicago, San Francisco, Boise, Idaho. There were tens of thousands of people all over the country protesting and supporting Minneapolis. They wanted this to be kind of a flashpoint to scare everybody. Boy, that motherfucking backfired.
I tell you, man, that's why I'm so proud of this city, because we have been a fucking beacon with a bright, shining light on it. And let's hope we can keep that momentum going. Mike, I tell you, I'm not a protester, right? I felt the need to go down there and see where Alex was shot. I don't know why, but I had to go. I don't go to rallies. I don't go to protests. I speak my mind when somebody asks. I'll post some stuff on Facebook that I feel like needs to get out there. But I'll tell you what, if there's a big protest or rally on Saturday or Sunday, I'm not going to go fishing, and I'm going to go to the rally.
And that's saying something. That's the other thing, that you're a big hunter and an outdoors guy,
Yeah.
which you would picture would be a
There's my
trouble.
gun safe right there. You see my gun safe?
Yeah. Have Greg stop by and see see how that fucking works out.
No, I want to fucking give him this right here. 2 weeks in the hospital, or a fucking black eye and a broken nose. I'm not that tough. I'm a fucking lover.
Yeah, well, you're one of
I'm
the.
not even much of that anymore.
Well, who is? Who fucking is?
I'm
But
drinking my I'm drinking my Camille tea here, so I don't get an upset stomach before I go to bed.
yeah. And if this were 50 years ago, it would be Mad Dog 2020, and we'd both be sick as fuck the next
Oh
day.
yeah, you had a good night when you woke up in the morning and you had puke on your shoes.
Yeah, that happened more often than I'd like to
Oh
admit
yeah.
back in those
And
days.
when that started in junior high, man, with our river parties.
Yeah, yeah, and well, that's the other thing we were talking about where we have something in common. I quit drinking about 36 years ago when I was 29, and you're even longer than that, right?
May 19th, 1987, I'll be coming up on 39.
39 years. And
Yep.
people say, "You quit drinking when you're in your 20s? You missed so much." And people don't know how we grew up. From 13, 14, we were hitting it hard for a long time.
Well, I missed all of it before I got clean, because I don't remember. I really don't remember, like, I don't know, 84, 85, 86, and part of 87. My cocaine got me into treatment, but when the doctor gave me a physical and rolled his hands over my liver, he said, "Holy shit, you got a fucking balloon down there. Your liver's all swelled up." And I go, "Could that have been on the 5-day bender I was just on?" He goes, "No, it takes more than that."
Wow.
So I
Well,
went to treatment to give up cocaine and to keep drinking. And I said, if my life wasn't better in a year, I can always go back. And that was 38 years ago.
38 years ago. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
after
Well,
a year. And, certain things, I don't know, we're not going to, call anything out. But at my 1 year sobriety birthday, my sister melted down some gold and made this medallion. Can you see it? It's the AA
yeah.
medallion.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been wearing it around my neck for 38 years.
Wow.
Kelly, you know my
Um,
sister Kelly.
I know Kelly. I knew your whole family.
Yep.
Your dad, Jerry, was one of our football coaches. Fantastic guy. Your mom was cool as hell. Your little brother hung out with my little brother.
Yep.
Kelly was older than us, so she was cooler than us. I didn't know her that well, but
Always cooler and smarter.
that's obviously.
She
Um,
got the brains. I got the good looks.
yeah, yeah. My wife and granddaughter got the good looks in my family. I just, that's why when I started doing this, I'd always been in radio, and it's real easy to
Well, we know
sound
why.
cool. Yeah, we know why. And they said, well, you got to do a video too. And I go, I don't really want to do that. But then, I was 60 years old at the time. I said, fuck it, who cares? I mean, it's what am I going to do?
Well, maybe
I
I
look,
might be the only person in the United States that's on a podcast before he ever fucking seen one or listened to one.
there you go. There you go. You followed me on Facebook, and I know you looked at some of the
Instagram,
shorter stuff I've
TikTok.
done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I got kicked off Facebook as Rational Boomer and Instagram and Threads, so I haven't been there for a while, but I have
Well,
a
sure, the
personal.
Billionaire Boys Club thought you were picking on them a little too much, so
Yeah, yeah, apparently. What what are your thoughts about Walls and Klobuchar and Jacob Fry? A lot of people supported him, a lot of people bitched about him because they didn't do anything. I think that's one of the things that troubled me the most. We're in a government where we thought there are rules, laws, guidelines, guardrails. But when Donald Trump just starts running roughshod, doing whatever he wants, you would assume that our courts, our Congress, or legislatures would do something about it. But it seems like either nobody could or nobody would do anything. He was just allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants.
yeah, I think sometimes their hands are tied, and I think in this day and age, politicians, at least on the left, are worried about making a mistake. God, if I do this, this 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 part of my party's not going to like it, and if I do this side of the aisle's not going to like it, and in something like this, when you have so many moving parts, right? We're a
Right.
sanctuary city. We don't want to let the police get involved with ICE. Um, there's just so many things going on, and I can't. Honestly, I'm glad Waltz isn't running again.
I am
Um,
too.
yeah, I am. It's kind of like, yeah, you had a good run. You made some mistakes, which all politicians do. Um, and as far as Amy Klobuchar coming in and running, I don't mind that. I kind of like Amy. You know,
I like Amy too. She's kind of a more of an establishment politician too. But if we're going to have a governor, um, I'm fine with her to do that.
well,
She's around our age.
she's a little more center aisle, and she seems like she knows how to play the game. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But
Well, I think you got to know how to play the game, and that's where Donald Trump falls down. He thinks he can pull his way through anything, and he doesn't understand how the system works.
well, he tries to create his own system. He thinks he can rule the world, and
Yeah,
he's forgotten about us. You know, I
yeah.
mean, has anything changed in a year as far as like prices or uh, healthcare costs are going up? There's no bill. I mean, I thought he said he had an idea for healthcare like the minute he fucking became president, and I haven't heard one word out of them cocks yet. So I don't know. You know,
No, so Micah, you got to be on Medicare right now, right?
I'm on Medicare.
But you were a carpenter before. Did
Yes,
you
sir.
have to use the ACA? Were you involved with the ACA, or did your company have
I had
healthcare?
health care through the company that I worked for 22 years, and then I went into business for myself for the last 10. And so I got my health care through um, Min, Mincare, Minsure,
Minsure, yeah, that's
Minsure.
ACA.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
ACA.
ACA.
What would you do if you were still working and you found out that your health care would quadruple, which is what's happening to people? I mean, how difficult would that have been for you? I was on Minsure too before I was on Medicare. And
Well,
my
my
wife and I were paying like 500-600 a month, and it would have been 2,500 a month, and that would have been almost impossible to
well,
do.
my wife's more than doubled because she's not on Medicare yet. I outkicked my coverage and married a Miss Fergus Falls, and
Wow.
she's a year younger than me, and so she is not on Medicare yet. And she was on Minsure. We're retired. We don't show any little income. Now that I collect Social Security, um, and her monthly rate went up about 115%.
Wow. Wow.
It didn't quadruple. You hear stories of it quadrupling, and so it's just her with a big deductible, a copay, and it's like $800 a month.
Well, and that's the thing about it is I've told people before, higher prices, people like you and I, uh, it's a pain to have the higher prices, whether it be on healthcare, but we can do it. The people I'm concerned about most are the people that are struggling in the first place, getting by paycheck to paycheck, trying to feed their kids, and now you throw another raise in healthcare plus the other rising prices and the other shit. There are some people that just cannot fucking do it.
I don't know how young families make it. I mean, if you're paying for daycare and you're paying for insurance, now hopefully they're getting insurance covered by a job that, maybe the job is kicking in and they're paying 400 or 500 a month for a family or two. I don't even know. I don't even know how much a family is paying for health care now, but I got to believe that the deductibles are very high to lower their monthly payment. And I mean, how do they do it, Mike? You got young kids with families. How do they do it? I mean, are
Well,
you?
fortunately, my youngest son has a job where he gets it through his work. My oldest son gets it through his work. His wife has it too, and they have two little kids. And fortunately, my oldest son makes and daughter-in-law make pretty good money, so they're not struggling. But I know a lot of people that are.
Oh, without a doubt.
We have a system where we're the richest country in the world, and every other industrialized nation has universal health care. We only have this situation because of our members of Congress who keep taking money from big medical, big pharma, the insurance companies to make sure that we stay in this fucking hole.
Well, look at United Healthcare.
Yeah,
How much do they make a quarter? They're a nonprofit. How much do they make a quarter?
billions.
4 or 5 billion.
Yeah.
We have healthcare for profit. Now people say, well, yeah, if you're going to have socialized medicine, we're going to be like Canada. And I'm like, well, fuck yeah, let's be
Yeah.
like Canada. And they're like, oh, I heard stories of people having to wait in line and they don't get health care for months. Well, has anybody, and I'd like to hear from your listeners, how many people have had specialized health care and they got to wait fucking 3 months to get in to see a doctor? And you have to go through these set of procedures. And oh shit, lost the paperwork on that one. Now it's going to be another 3 months. I mean, healthcare in the U.S. for specialized healthcare, we got good healthcare. Don't get me wrong, but there are times where the wait times and the care just doesn't add up for what you're paying.
Well, and over and above that all, you get the health care, and then when it comes to paying for it, now the insurance company who swore they were going to protect you is trying to weasel every way out they can to do the coverage. This is all about profit. Now we have the ACA still, the subsidies not extended. People's health care is going up. Some people will be able to afford it. Some people won't. It'll be disastrous for a lot of people. There'll be people that are sick and not being able to be taken care of. There'll be people who die. Do you think I personally think that with something like this disaster, hopefully it's going to be more appealing for universal health care when we finally get a Democratic president.
I hope so. But greed is a strange thing in the US, my brother.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's greed on both sides of the aisle. Don't think there isn't some Democrat senators that, you
Oh,
know, that
absolutely.
that are in on buying stocks and get, insider trading secrets, and they watch as they watch their bank account grow, and they see corporations on the Democratic side funneling money. There's a lot of greed on both sides of the aisle, and we could spend a whole hour talking about what needs to change in our political system as far as where the money goes and how is it spent and who's giving money who. But you know
Yeah, it's a troubling situation. And, one of the things I've talked about, you've got all these people that are greedy. They want, I think there should be um, they should forgive college loans. I don't know. Did you go to college?
I did well, an interesting story. I was going to go to Bemidji State to play baseball. I broke my ankle wiping out on my motorcycle going to a graduation party, and I had a limp through my first quarter. I couldn't play any fall baseball, and I found out the walleyes were biting where the Mississippi dumps into Lake Bemidji, and I sold pot and caught walleyes and ended up making it for one quarter or one try or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, the story I tell, I went to the University of Minnesota for about a year, and I was majoring in partying and drinking.
Yeah,
And then after that year, the college and I agreed that I've learned all I could learn. I could test out
but I
and
bet you they gave you.
probably,
I bet you they gave you an A in it.
yeah, oh, I got a fucking A in that shit. Didn't do me any good for getting a job, but uh, but my biggest concern going, with Donald Trump talking about the economy with Biden and stuff, and the economy was better with Biden than Donald Trump, clearly. But I think one of the reasons why the Democrats had a problem with the economy, because while the stock market and the jobs and the GDP, that was all working pretty well. I think one of the biggest problems we have in this country, and I didn't realize until my son sat me down and explained it. You got kids going to college. They're getting saddled with heavy duty loans. They get out of college. They get jobs that don't pay for shit. And unlike us, they're having trouble finding ways to pay for apartments, let alone houses. And if you've got a group of people like millennials and Gen Zs who will be the mainstay in 2028 as far as the voting bloc, if none of them can afford anything, you can be greedy all you want, but the economy is going to go to shit. Nobody's going to buy a house. Nobody's going to go on trips. Nobody's going to have discretionary money. And we've got to think ahead to that. We've got to address the young people in this country and make it livable, more affordable, and pay these kids more money.
Well, I think what we need to do then, I think the Gen Zs and they, I believe, and don't quote me on this, it might be above my pay grade, but I think they have one of the lowest voter turnouts per generation, and that's got to change.
Yeah.
Because if they're going to make a change, they got to get out and vote. And if they don't get out and vote, I mean, they got nobody to blame but themselves.
Well, I think the best thing we can say to Gen Zs, especially, is that if you don't do it, dumb fucks like Mike and I are going to make decisions that you're going to have to live with long after we're dead. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, you better step up and fucking do something.
Well, I think you and I are trying to make the right ones for them,
Right.
but it's fucking dumb fucks like us that lick the boots of the billionaires and fucking don't know how to turn on the lights in their fucking double wide. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
As long as your fucking sister cousin is there and you're as horny as a three peckered goat, you fucking don't give a shit about life, right?
Yeah. You have to understand. You have to understand the way you hear Mike talk and the way I talk. This is how people in South Minneapolis talk,
Oh,
especially
am
my
I
generation.
supposed to clean it up a little bit?
No, no. No, I clean it up. People will say to me, they'll see me do something on the videos or something and hear me say motherfucker this or fuck that. And people will say, "Are you really like that when you're not?" And I think you can attest to the fact
Yeah.
that what you see in me is pretty much what you've seen for the last 50 years.
Well, dude, we're pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't put on a fucking mask for nobody. So it's like, take me for the way I am now. Now it is true. My wife tells me when we go out sometimes to leave the carpenter at home because if you would have seen some of the guys I worked with and some of the shit that we did and some of the one-liners and I mean that's how you make the job as a carpenter. That's how you make
Tolerable?
it. So well, that's how you make it through the day, right? I mean, there's always joking and playing and one-liners, and sometimes I have to learn to leave that at the door. And I think the older I get and the more gray I get in my beard, the easier that becomes. But I tell you, man, I've been pumped up the last week. I've felt rage inside of me that I haven't felt for 39 years, and I always said, going to anger management classes after I got out of treatment I really did really good at putting a cover on it, and taking care of it and saying the serenity prayer and doing the things that I needed to do. And I always said, man, I feel sorry for the guy that's picking on the old lady at the bus stop or picking on, the little special needs kid because I know I still have it in me and I can unleash. And I felt that anger this week. And I've made it a purpose the last 2 days to just stay home while my wife is out of town because I just needed to simmer, do a little bit of working out and doing a little bit of meditation. And I feel much better now. But just there, talking about, you know, I mean, I can just feel that. I can just feel that rage, Mike. And I tell you, it scares me. It scares me to feel that because of what's going on in our fucking city.
Well, yeah, I can agree with you there. It wasn't so much in my younger days, but in my older days, I've learned how to kind of control my emotions.
Yeah, gummy
Um,
bears.
no, 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 nothing like that. I just kind of do it in my head, and 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 the thing about it is the last couple of days, like you say, I felt a lot of rage, and
Oh,
I think it has to do with, I had trouble getting to sleep the other day, and I was thinking the same things. I'd love to grab Greg Bavino or any one of those ice and beat their ass, and then I realized you're 65, motherfucker. You're not as
yeah.
tough as you once were, but in my heart, I think I'm still thinking like a 30-year-old kid. I go, I could probably do it,
Oh,
and I know I couldn't.
well, it would come down to fucking eye gouges and fucking kicking them into balls and fucking biting them and anything scratches, give them a fish hook in the eyeball and you know.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling. I haven't had that since, but I think part of it is something that's built up over 10 years where Donald Trump keeps getting away with it. And I think, you know, we're more righteous thinking and we can't understand how he can do something so egregious, so blatant, and people still support it. It does make you fucking angry.
It does. It makes me very angry. But I was having a discussion with my neighbor, and I don't know why, and it must be because I have my faith, and I'm not a Christian guy, but I feel no fear because
Yeah.
because I just feel, and I have so much faith in this city and so much faith in this state, and maybe God forbid I have enough faith in our country that they're seeing what's going on, and we really only know there's one way to change it. And I'm hoping that we make some changes at the midterms, and that's all I can hope for. I mean, really, what else
Well,
can you do?
people kept saying when they felt, with all this going on in Minneapolis and some of the other cities, people were, kind of doom and gloom type people. Oh, what can we do? We can't do anything. And then a lot of people were saying it's up to us. It's not up to Congress isn't doing anything. The government isn't doing anything. Law enforcement isn't doing anything. So it's up to us. And people would always say, how is it up to us? What the fuck can we do? Now we have an illustration of it. We have Minneapolis, people coming out in force, and Donald Trump retreating even a little bit. At least now we know the power is with us if we use it properly.
Well, let's hope that we gain a little momentum then and make some smart moves and that's why I really hope that Jacob Fry and Tim Walsh don't collapse and give some demands up in order for ICE to get out of here because I mean I got to believe that at least half of them fucking ICE agents, whether they're Proud Boys or fucking Oath Keepers or just dumb fucking hillbillies from Louisiana, I think when they go to bed at night, I think some of them are thinking, "What in the fuck am I doing here?" You know,
Well, you would
what
hope
what
so.
the what the fuck am I doing? And sure, there's plenty of them that are going, "Oh fuck, I can't wait to get out there tomorrow and fucking try to rip some lady's car door open. If she don't open it, I'll smash it with my crowbar." Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of them in there, but I gotta believe that you know as a human being with a soul and a conscience, that there's got to be some guys going to bed at night nice going, what in the fuck did I sign up for? We're not here getting the worst of the worst. I mean, I thought, oh man, they're sending me up to Minnesota to get the worst of the worst. Well, they're grabbing ladies and kids and dragging people out of restaurants and businesses and cars and really?
Yeah, yeah. It's well, I've heard stories and try to imagine this. I've heard stories that there's been some talk of families of members of ICE, and they're kind of going, "What the fuck are you doing? What?" And they're getting kind of shunned from their families. And what would you do if a family member of yours, regardless of how close, if you found out that person worked in ICE, how would you handle that?
Oh my God, I have a close knit family on one side of my family. My mom's side of the family is really tight, and there's some Republicans on that side. They're in agriculture, and it kind of breaks my heart to even try to have a conversation with them because when I see them at Thanksgiving, oh geez, are you surviving living down there in South Minneapolis? Oh God, there's murders all the time and geez, carjackings and I'm like, yeah, Fox News. And I asked my cousin, you ever watch anything other than Fox News? Well, no. I go, well, that fucking tells me you're about as dumb as a fucking post.
Yeah.
But anyhow,
Well, you and
it's
I
like,
grew up in South Minneapolis. Have we ever thought of Minneapolis at all as dangerous? Even the worst parts of town, you and I could walk through.
well, I'll tell you, as a carpenter, I've worked in all of Minneapolis. The company that I worked for did a lot of work for the Minneapolis Community Development Agency, and a lot of that was in North Minneapolis, bringing houses back up to code. Grandma with three generations of kids in the house. Sad to see cockroach living. Um, and I one time I had some young punks tell me to give them their wallet, and I was sitting on my tailgate having a cigarette, and I just took my hammer out and I go, "Are you fucking serious? Because you're going to have to take them." And he said, "Oh man, I just want a cigarette. I just want to have a cigarette." And I go, "Well, first of all, you're not old enough to smoke, but you know what? I'm going to give each one of you a cigarette, and you're going to sit here and smoke that cigarette with me. And I'm going to tell you why you never walk up to a fucking white man with a hammer and tell them you want their wallet." And then they were kind of cool, right? I mean, it ain't like gangbangers now. They would have just pulled out a gun and shot me, you know. And so I probably would be like treading on ice a little bit. Well, I don't even like to. I, I don't even like to
Don't
use
even
that
say
fucking
that.
word. I
Yeah,
would be a
yeah.
little more careful in what I did, but I no. And Mike, I live right by the Lake Street Bridge. Pam and I ride our bikes all over the place. We walk our dogs all over the place. We eat up and down Lake Street, Nicollet Avenue, downtown, northeast, southeast, St. Paul. We've never had a problem with an immigrant. We've never had a problem with somebody trying to hurt us in any way. Um, and am I just a lucky guy? No. All my friends up and down this block do the same thing that I do, and we've never had a problem. The problem I have now is I can't even go get a fucking taco because all the restaurants are closed. I go to
Right.
Turtle Bread to have coffee. They got the door locked, and they unlock the door to let you in. I mean, the the atmosphere in Minneapolis right now has a dark, dark cloud over it.
It does, and it's kind of a sad cloud too because we see a lot of people struggling. I mean, we got kids staying home like COVID and going to school because they're afraid to send their kids to school because who knows if ICE shows up and drags a teacher or another kid out. It the whole intent of this was to scare us into submission. Um, and they could have picked a better place in Minnesota because that wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to push us into submission. We were going to fight before, and I think a lot of people are surprised by that. That Minneapolis, Minnesota, nice, that these people are fighting back. But you're right with the George Floyd thing. We learned a lot when that happened. Uh, and we were prepared for them. I got to tell you, I'm watching social media and I'm watching old people and I'm watching young people crying, upset, mad, and they're ready to go out every fucking day, stand in 10 degree below zero, and do what they've got to do. I'm not a guy that goes to protest either, and it's not because I don't have admiration for those people. I'm old. I don't know what use I would be. And I sit here every day and do the podcast and do the TikToks. And that's what I can do. And I think that's what all of us have to. Whatever we can do that's best, we should do that.
Yeah. Well, if I go to a protest on Saturday, which if there is a big one, I'm going, and I'm going to bring a hockey stick sign. And I still don't know what I'm going to put on there because honestly, I don't really like seeing the signs that say "fuck ICE." I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we all know that, but to put it on a sign, if you got younger kids there seeing it, it just seems so vulgar. Like, get a little more creative. So I'm gonna wait till Pam gets home, and then I'm gonna try to get creative with a sign. And I got some stuff out in the garage where I'll be able to make a sign, and you know whether it's going to do any good or not, it's going to do good for me in my heart. It's going to keep repairing that hole that I have in my heart that's healing now, and the knot in my stomach that is slowly going away with my ginger tea or whatever the hell it is. And I think I'm doing it because it'll make me feel better.
And for me, well, I control my emotions pretty well. Being on here every day talking shit about what's going on, it's very cathartic for me. I'm getting
Oh, that
all this
must be a
shit off
big
my chest.
relief. Oh, no
It
doubt.
is. It actually is. You were talking about your wife saying, "Leave the carpenter at home." My wife will always say to me, "Don't talk about politics." And I always say, "Honey, I don't talk about politics when we go out. I mean, I talk about politics all day. I don't need to go talk to somebody." I said,
Right.
"However, if some dumb fuck says something to me that's a lie, I'm gonna have to straighten them out." And that's happened a couple times, and it's kind of an unpleasant situation because I don't yell and scream, but I can make them look stupid, and
Oh
then they
yeah.
get all worked up.
Oh yeah. I bet you love that too.
I kind of do. I've been places where somebody comes up to me and says something stupid like, "Tim Walz is a tyrant." And I could see my wife or my kids or somebody going, "Oh, fuck, here we go." And it's going to get it. And they'll say something. See, the thing is, these dumb fucks think they have a point. They think they can debate this, but there is no facts or truth to what they're saying. And it can be easily pointed out to them, and then they don't know what to do with themselves. They're used to the tolerant left, and people like you aren't tolerant. You and I aren't tolerant, but we are on the left, and they don't know what to do with people like us.
Well, it surprises me so much in the last, what has ICE been here? 5 weeks? Has it been that long already?
Couple,
Has it fucking
at
been that
least
long already?
four, at least
Four
three or
weeks?
four. Yeah.
Because, going through COVID, the whole don't tread on me, right? Don't fucking tread on me. Don't tell me what I have to do. And then you got ICE coming in here to a US citizen, fucking treading on your ass like, you know, who cares if you're going to make me wear a mask? But you got ICE coming in here and telling me, let me see your paperwork. What kind of treading on me is that? And then for them to come out and say, no, you can't have a loaded gun on you when you go to a fucking protest. Well, did you see Kyle Rittenhouse walking down the street with an AR fucking 15 at a Black Lives Matter protest? I mean, come on. And I tell you what, he's pissed off a lot of the 2A advocates throughout the country. And if you think the Democrats are a bigger threat to take away your guns, you better fucking think again.
Well, yeah, you bring up a great point. You mentioned early on that you have a permit to carry.
Yep, I have for 15 years.
Do you always carry a gun with you everywhere you go, or just certain
Generally,
places?
Mike, it's like my American Express. I don't leave home without it.
Okay.
That gun is
What?
safer on that gun is safer on me than it is at home.
Yeah. What was it that caused you to want to do that? I'm not arguing with you because I've thought about the same thing. I'm 65 years old. I can't mix it up like I once had. If some young people come up and do something, yeah, you may need some help. But what was it that was the
Well, I
impetus
think
for
the
you doing it?
biggest reason is we have a place in western Minnesota on a lake. I go out there fishing all the time, and I have a buddy that has a range, and I shoot guns out there a lot. And as far as handguns go, it's just easier to transport them if you have a permit to carry. You don't have to separate the handgun from the ammo and have them here and there. I can have fucking 25 loaded guns on me.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it's easier to transport. Now I don't have 25 guns on me. And I don't know if there was a point that said, Mike, you got to get a permit to carry, because I was never scared out of my wits or nothing. And I just think that it was a right. I chose to do it, and I'm glad I did.
Well, and what happened after, when they were trying to spin this thing, that he had a gun, so he's dangerous, and he never pulled the gun. They took it from him, and then they shot him. Donald Trump comes out and said, well, he had a gun on the streets of Minneapolis. He must have been a criminal. Then Scott Bessent and some of the other people said, well, you shouldn't bring a loaded gun to a protest, a peaceful protest. They were trying to spin this all over the place. And I don't think they were realized that they were undercutting one of the biggest supporters that they have, the NRA. How do you think the NRA and other people like you that carry permitted weapons, is this hitting home with them?
Oh, that's all you have to do is go on Instagram. And I follow a couple of people on Instagram that are Democrats that hate Trump, but are 2A amendment advocates, and they
Hmm.
can't believe it. They are hotter than a fucking three-peckered goat. And um, here's the deal. I don't support NRA. I don't think everybody needs to have a bazooka. I don't think you should be able to purchase a 50 caliber. I have an AR-15, and whether some people are going to give me some flashback on that. Well, I guess they'll never give me no flashback because they'll never see me again on this show. But well, unless you
No,
want me
you'll
to
be
laugh.
fine.
But
Oh yeah,
I use the
definitely.
AR-15 for coyote hunting out west. Um, I don't believe that everybody should have a 30 round clip. I have 30 round clips. And when I coyote hunt, they just get in the way because it's a big fucking banana clip that comes down. So I go with a 10 round clip. And if they said tomorrow, and sometimes I think people need to get creative, right? An AR-15 is no different than my 30-06 that I take deer hunting.
Right,
It's one pull, one shot. Okay.
right.
But it looks like a automatic machine gun. I don't pull the trigger and fire 30 shots. I got to pull the trigger 30 times. Okay. But if they got creative and said, you know what, we're going to ban 30 round clips. So go down to the sheriff. We're going to give you $200 for every 30 round clip that you turn in. And as of January 1st on 2027, if you get caught with a 30 round clip in your possession, the first one's going to be a $10,000 fine and fucking 5 years in jail. And the next one, you're going to never have the right to own a gun again. And you're going to be a fucking felon. Right?
Well, and
Get creative.
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
gun owner and I just said it, you know?
Well, I'm not one. I hunted when I was a little kid, but my dad ruined it for me because he was so militant about it and the people he went with. I would rather have been with you at the park dance, getting drunk and trying to find a girl than sitting in a ditch in North Dakota hunting geese.
Well, I don't know if you were the first one to drink with me, but you're the first one to smoke weed with me.
That's true. I think people know, but I never took to it. I never took to it. It's
No,
just not
I
something
did.
that I enjoyed. Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah, yeah,
You were bordering on jock burnout.
very much so. And I hung around with the car guys. I was kind of a greaser, a pothead, a stoner, a jock.
Yeah, yeah, it's
No,
yeah, because
I
Mike was a
liked them
football
all.
player. As much as he and I played in park board together, and we were fucking good. I'm just
We were
saying.
good.
He went on and played in high school and did pretty impressive things. He was a
Well,
running
Mike,
back,
did you
and
know that I was an all-city tailback at South?
I did not know that.
Michael Davis is still mad at me to this day.
Who was the
We
Roosevelt?
joke we joke about it when he used to own Ted Cook's. You know.
Michael Davis owned Ted Cook's?
Yeah. Yeah, he sold it to Moses, and I was just down on my way back from the interview that day. I stopped in and saw Moses, the new owner, who's owned it for about 30 years, I think. And I built them a wood rack 30 years ago, and he's still using the same wood rack. And he said, "Mike, you're one hell of a carpenter." Made me
You
feel
want
good.
to you want to hear the most fucked up thing that you won't believe that you heard today? Ted Cook's is a famous barbecue place just down the road from my high school, Roosevelt High School. It's been there for decades. I love barbecue. Never eaten at Ted Cook's. Can you fucking believe that?
Are you fucking serious?
I'm dead serious.
Tell me
I
you've
never have.
tell me that you've never had Ted Cook's.
No, I never have.
All right, we got a date, bro.
All right, let's
I'm
do it.
taking you to Ted Cook's, and it's on me, and you will love it.
I love ribs. I
That
love
shocks
barbecue.
me.
It shocks me too. I don't know how that is the case, but I've never been there.
But you've had Rudolph's and you've had
Oh, I had ribs twice this week,
oh
but I
oh
never
my
went there.
God. All right.
I, when I was in high school, I was saving all my money for cheap beer, so I never really spent it
Well, it
on.
is expensive. It's 31 bucks for a full rack dinner now.
Yeah, that's pretty typical, though.
But I'll tell
It's
you,
not.
we'll get when it warms up this summer, we'll get Ted Cook's barbecued ribs and we'll go to Waban Park and eat them.
All right, that sounds good. Because you can't eat in Ted Cook's, right?
Nope, just all takeout.
It's all takeout. Yeah. How
Oh
about
my
your
God,
wife?
I'm like freaking shocked.
I told you that'd be the
You're
most
the
fucked
only
up thing
freaking
you
guy
heard.
that grew up in South Minneapolis that never had Ted Cook's barbecued ribs or chicken or beef or rib tips.
I used to love Market Barbecue back in the day, but
Yep.
um,
No, they used to be on 15th and Nicollet. Now they're over northeast now off of University and Lowry, somewhere up that way.
now there was a Market Barbecue. I had an office downtown, a recording studio right by First Avenue, and
Yeah.
you'd walk down this alley, and Market Barbecue was right on the corner. And you know what was right next to it? Goofy's,
Oh,
which
okay.
was which was a strip joint. And
Yeah.
I used to go in there and eat, and I watched these guys go into Market Barbecue, get a tray of ribs, and then they go into Goofy's and sit on the runway in Goofy's and eat their ribs while these
Oh,
girls.
I thought you were saying you ate at Goofy's, and I was going to say, how many pubes did you pull out of your food?
No, it was nothing like that. I won't say I never went in there, but
Oh, God.
when I went to Market Barbecue, I was serious about fucking eating.
Goofies and Moby Dicks. You know what I like about Market is it's the dry rub, and then they give you you got the sauce on the side. There's some good ribs. I used to go there for Pam would take me there for my birthday for about 5 years in a row. And then they moved
Yeah,
over northeast, and we went there once, and it's just
not the same.
not the same.
It's not
The
the same.
vibe's not the same, and it's just not the same.
Yeah, it's strange. So Ted Cooks, we'll have to do Ted Cooks this summer,
Oh yeah, that wow.
and I got to try it because I love barbecue, and the fact that I've never done that is one of my greatest shames.
That's
And you
almost
grew up
like
with me, so you know how many shames I've got.
that's almost like fucking on Southside
Yeah,
to
it
never
is.
have to never have
It
had
is.
pets.
Of course, I married a suburban girl, and I've lived in the suburbs ever fucking since.
Well,
So
Mike, never in my wildest dreams. I I met my second wife Pam in 2000. We got married in 2002 or something. She's from Fergus Falls, Minnesota, and she loves the city. And never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be in this house as long as I have. I'm the fucking old guy on the block now. I
yeah,
moved into this house in '87 after I cleaned up, and I've remodeled it from the basement to the third floor. It's an old third story farmhouse, and she just loves it here. She loves Highland Park. She loves the fact that we can get on the paths and ride our bikes for, I got an e-bike now, and I can ride our bikes for 50 miles and always be on a tarred path. She
yeah.
go down to the river and walk the dog off leash, and she loves it. But never did I think I'd be here this long, but I'm glad I am.
Absolutely. I mean, there's something about South Minneapolis. You can go into our neighborhood. When you listen to Donald Trump, sounds like, that's the thing that always pissed me off about the George Floyd thing. Ever since that happened, Donald Trump and everybody around him have talked about Minneapolis is like burning rubble still to this day that is tore
Yeah.
up. And you can drive on your e-bike for 50 miles and not once get attacked by an illegal immigrant.
No, never. No. I'd be more worried of falling off because I'm looking at some chick's ass. Don't tell my wife that. But
Well, don't ever listen to this.
yeah, I mean, it's like I go everywhere. Now do I go to North Minneapolis after dark? No. Am I outside of frickin' Pearson's at 2 o'clock in the morning, which we know isn't still there?
Is it
Um,
still
you
there?
know, no, it's not there.
Good.
No.
That was the
And
that was a bad place.
the hexagon burnt down in the George Floyd, but we went and listened to some music at the Schooner. You know where the Schooner is?
I do.
Schooner Bar. We went to the Schooner Paul with Paul Hansen and his wife, and Pam's cousin was playing there, and we just had the fucking greatest time. Eclectic crowd. We were listening to a band called the Swamp Donkeys that was amazing and fun, and never once did I feel threatened.
Well, that's the one thing about South Minneapolis that is nice because I go to South Minneapolis and restaurants down there sometimes. It's a very cultural area, more
Very
so than it
cultural,
was when we were growing up. You
very
can go
much
to
so.
some very nice restaurants. They've done a lot of things to it. For us, we'd go to Clark Submarine and McDonald's, and that'd be the extent of where we went. But now it's really become kind of a cultural place. And
Oh,
what's funny is I have friends that live in South Minneapolis, and I go into these old houses that I remember when I was a kid, and they're all fucking incredibly done, and they're worth like about a half a million to $1 million. I'm going, this is fucking South Minneapolis.
it is wild, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
Speaking of that, the Longfellow Grill. Have you ever heard of the chain of restaurants, the Longfellow Grill and the Uptown Grill, and
I've
well,
been to the Longfellow Grill many times.
the Longfellow Grill now has 4 entrees on their menu because all their help is not coming into work.
Oh wow,
How fucking
wow.
sad is that? They had a nice kind of a California menu.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So what do you think happens if Donald Trump ends up, well, he's going to end up having to pull ICE out at some point, maybe sooner than later, based on what is going. Do you think everything goes back to normal, or is it like COVID where
oh, it'll
some some businesses will shut down because they couldn't handle it?
I think they'll open up right away if in the next week they do not feel a threat from ICE, whether ICE is still here. See, here's what I think is going to happen, Mike, and maybe I'm totally wrong. I think Holman comes to town. He works out a deal with Walsh and Frey and says, hey, look, we came barnstorming in here and we told you we were coming after the worst of the worst, and you're never going to hear about this. This is all going to be fucking behind closed doors. And we made some mistakes. I don't want you to tell anybody we made some mistakes because here's what's going to happen now. We're going to work with your Department of Corrections, which they said the Department of Corrections wouldn't work for them. They're going to get the worst of the worst. There might still be some worst of the worst on the streets. They'll probably maybe work secretly with some local information because the Minneapolis cops have all the intel. They're the ones that have the fucking snitches on the streets. They're the ones that know the heartbeat of what's going on. ICE can't come rushing in here and all of a sudden think, oh, Pepe Home Lopez is at fucking 3617 4th Avenue. That's just not the way it works, right? And I think they'll go after the worst of the worst, and he'll make a promise that they won't be just ripping, you know, grandma from Ethiopia out of the house, and you know, the father of 3 kids from Laos that never became a naturalized citizen. I don't think they're going to go after them. I really don't think that, because I honestly think the fucking wheels are falling off of this train. And I
Yeah.
really think that they're going to make some kind of deal, and they're really going to try to soothe the temperature. And once that happens, you'll see everything opening up back again. Once they realize that they're not coming after just hardworking, normal people, I think that things will change much, much, much faster than COVID.
So what you're saying is Donald Trump is going to do what Donald Trump does, try to save face and back out of this and say, we won. It's
Yep.
all better.
And he'll make it look like the great business deal with Waltz and Frey. And that's where it gets kind of tricky with, what do they tell us? Why is it getting better? What kind of deal did you make? Are they going to lie about it? Are they going to be truthful about it? Or are they not going to make a deal and hold them to the fucking fire and say, you want to stay here, you're going to have another fucking 5 weeks of what you've had the last 5 weeks. And if you shoot another fucking person, your other fucking wheel's going to fall off.
Well, if they do end up pulling out of here, and I think ultimately they will, because this has been too much for them. It's not working politically for them at all. Um, we have to make sure that the mayor and Governor Walz and everybody else in this town say, "Oh, they're pulling out. What a relief! All is forgiven." Because there are crimes committed here. There were murders committed, kidnapping. That still has to be addressed at some point, whether we can do it now or after the midterms. Like Keith Ellison said, the Attorney General, you can kill Rebecca or Renee Good, and you can hide it, because that's what they've done with both these cases. They've kept local police and state patrol out of it. You can do
First time
that, but
ever, first time ever in the state of Minnesota, the BCA has not been able to work with the FBI or the federal agents on a murder investigation. First time ever.
and that's very telling. It's obviously a cover up. Everything with Donald Trump is a cover up. But as Keith Ellison said, there is no statute of limitation on murder. So to think Jonathan Ross or whoever did this to Alex Preddy is going to get away with it, I just hope that intensity and that motivation to go after those people continues after the relief of ICE being gone.
Well, I sure hope it does. Have they even see? So I heard from the little pipsqueak Bavino that all the agents that were involved in the shooting are back out on the streets. Have you heard that? I've heard that.
I have not
And
heard
have
that,
they
but it wouldn't
released
surprise
have
me.
they released the name of the guy or guys that have shot him? I think only one guy shot him, but I could be wrong.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well, you
Have they
know how
re-
we got the name of Jonathan Ross, don't you? Jonathan, they didn't release the name of Jonathan Ross. Christy Nome fucked up. Christy Nome went up and said, well, he did this. He has PTSD because he was involved in a situation where he was dragged by a car.
dragged by
So
a
then they
car?
went back and looked at it and they go, well, that's Jonathan Ross. And then they matched it up. Uh, the DHS and Christy Nome not going to give us the name. But as I understand it, we have a number of list of names. And and personally, I think when this is all said and done, it's not just the murderers. There's a lot of crimes against the Constitution that all of these people have committed. I've talked to people on here before, and they're saying we need Nuremberg trials where one after the other, kind of like a January 6th, everybody has to be accountable for this. And there's going to be a list of who was involved.
You really think there's a list? You think they'll be able to come up with a list and prosecute, say, the guy that pulled the lady, the U.S. citizen, broke her window, pulled her out of her car, or pulled her out of her house, which they're breaking so many constitutional rights, or or shooting a rubber bullet into an innocent bystander. How are they going to prove it? They
Well,
got masks on. They're on video, but how are you going to tell who it is?
that's a good point. Maybe it starts with who doesn't have a mask? Christy Nome, Greg Bavino.
Yep, yep.
If you can't pick out the individuals, then you take the head off the snake. And as far as I'm concerned, Christy Nome and Pam Bondi um, we'll be looking at indictments and prosecution. I mean, with Pam Bondi's cover
Oh,
up of the Epstein files, Christy Nome and the cruelty that's happening under her watch, I'm hearing now that she may get thrown under the bus too, and they want to impeach her. But these people need to be held accountable after the fact, whenever that may be.
but you see, they're the scapegoats, and you know how the shit churns. Oh, fake news, political witch hunt, blah 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 blah. At least with this, Christy Nome, I mean, she's pretty much gone on and said everything and lied and doesn't know shit. They'll throw her under the bus.
Yeah.
That Bovino, really? What did Bovino do but walk around like a little fucking Nazi leader of his little fucking gangs? I don't know that he pulled people out. Sure, they might have been under his supervision, but what do you do? Reprimand them? Fucking fire them? Big deal.
Well, now he's going back to California, it sounds like, and whether he's going to retire or not. Greg Bavino's face is pretty well known. He's going to have to
Oh yeah,
walk around the streets of California or
he's from
wherever he's going.
California. He sounds like he's
That's
from fucking Louisiana.
that's what I heard somebody say. I don't know. That may or may not be true. Wherever he has to go, though, he's got to face a lot of
Oh,
people who know his face.
there's no fucking rock that he can hide under, especially if
Yeah.
he's going to California. He better go find himself up in Northern California and hide in some deep timber because there's no fucking place that he can hide with normal people around. He can go hang out with the one fucking tooth hillbillies up there in the woods. I've been up in that country. There's some people that are hiding from something up there.
Yeah. No shit. No shit. Well, when this is all over, and I've told people always come to me and say, "Man, you give me some hope," or they'll say, "Why do you have hope?" And my reason for having hope is because the alternative sucks. That's given up, and nobody wants to do that. But I always tell people the reason I believe there's hope. Both of us lived through the '60s. We were little kids, but a lot of fucked up shit was going on there. We somehow found out and came out the other side. And I talk about my personal life and your personal life. Uh, we've gone through the trials, tribulations, and tragedies. We've lost parents. We've had our own struggles with whatever. And here you and I sit now, pretty comfortable and doing okay at 65. We will get through it. We're going to have to go through some shit to get through it. But inevitably, that's how it always works out. So we have to not be afraid. Fear is the worst thing you can have because that's the very thing they're trying to instill in us. So don't
Exactly.
give it to them. Don't give it to them. But we've got to be confident and ride this out to the best of our ability because, like they say, that nobody's coming to help us. It's us, and we're now starting to show our colors in Minneapolis and other cities. Um, you can have 2,000 you can have 2,000 ICE agents in Minneapolis, but if you got 75,000 people pushing them back, there ain't much they can do.
This is true. This is true. I tell you, Mike, I don't have any grandkids, but I'm fighting for your grandkids. And
Absolutely.
when you look at the broad scope of shit that Trump has fucked up in just 1 year in this second term, from environmental causes to, oil baby, oil baby, oil baby, burn more coal, drill in the boundary waters, you know.
Right.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that scares me for generations going forward because not to get off on a different tangent, but I spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and I
Right.
tell you, for anybody that says that they haven't seen the the climate change that's from the 60s till now has got their fucking head in the sand.
Well, a good
I mean,
example is what's going on right now out on the East Coast. They're buried in 15 inches of snow.
yeah,
That used to happen to us.
yeah. Well, you know what the dumb fuck says? Oh, so much for global warming.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a term that I wish was never invented, right? It's a fact we are warming, but you know, with climate change, you know, it can be fucking 85 and sunny one day, and the next day you got a blizzard, and you know, and then you got. I mean, I'm an ice fisherman, and generally I ice fish from the day after Thanksgiving to about April 1st. Last year, the last 2 years, I haven't been able to ice fish in March. First time in my life, I've never ice fished in March.
Wow. Wow. That's yeah,
Can't
I haven't been much of an outdoorsman at this point. I mainly sit on my ass and I talk into a microphone, which doesn't give me a lot of outdoors, but I do like to go outdoors. My wife and I travel a lot. We like to go places and see things, and it is
hang out on the
troubling.
pontoon.
Hang on a pontoon, yeah. Yeah, if
Office
you ever
number.
want to go,
What
if
is
you ever
that
want to go
office?
fishing.
Is that office number three?
He does watch this. No, that's Studio B.
Oh, that's two. Studio B.
If you ever want to fish on Minnetonka, you're more than welcome to call me up because you know what's the funny thing about having a boat is you think, ah, fuck, I'm gonna have a boat. Everybody's gonna be calling me. They're gonna want to come over. The kids, the grandkids. I'm gonna be out there all the fucking. Not that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. And you can say, well, you could go out with your wife, and my wife goes, it's kind of boring when it's just you and me. We got to get some other people. Then you try to get them out there. So we're always open for anybody who wants to come out.
Dude, I have Pam had to get a new pontoon, so we got a nice big Bennington pontoon with a 115 Yamaha four-stroke on it. Then in the boat lift next to it, you know, I got my fishing boat. I don't ever want to go in the pontoon because everybody wants to go fishing with me. I've been blessed to be on a really good fishing lake, and I have a board on one whole wall. I call it my fish board. And anybody that comes up fishing with me, I pretty much can guarantee them that they'll catch the biggest sunfish that they've ever caught in their life. And the lake is like probably for sure the top 10 walleye lake in Minnesota. So we'll
Really?
catch walleyes, big sunfish. And, you know, I say, all right, I got to get a picture because I want you on the fish board. And now it's like a thing. Everybody wants to get on the fish board. And I told Pam when I die, you know, I don't care what you do, but if you have any kind of service, the only thing I want there is my fish board because there's kids, there's adults, there's our friends that have passed away. Tim Fossum's holding the biggest walleye of his life with the biggest smile on his face. Every person on that board is smiling.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And there hasn't been much to smile about as of late. I mean, and we got to get back to that. You know,
yeah.
I've been doing this for a long time, talking shit every day, and people say, "Doesn't it get to you?" And I go, "You know, I get it out of my system." And then when I'm walking around doing whatever I do, I'm not really thinking about it all the time. When I'm in the moment, I'm talking about it. But you get in the outdoors and you fish and you do the things you love. It seems like so many people are not able to do that anymore because they're so stressed out about what's happening. We need to get to a point where people can just live their fucking lives and not have to
No
worry.
shit, right? No shit. And you know, we're lucky now to be retired, so you know, you can. I mean, fuck every day. You know, I used to hear my dad say, "Ah, fuck every day's a Saturday," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's bullshit." Well, you know what? Every day's a fucking Saturday. You know, I
Have
mean,
you gotten to the point where you don't know what day it is some
oh,
days?
fuck. Sometimes I forget what month it is. But that could be because the wife sends me to the store to get bread, and I come home with milk, so I might be on my way out up here. I don't know. Fuck. You know.
Well,
But
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I'll tell you one thing, Mike. You know, being in Minneapolis, and I haven't been outside the last couple of days, just because I felt like I needed to be home and I needed to kind of refocus, regenerate. The wife's gone. You know, I can do whatever I want with the TV flipper.
yeah.
But when I have been out, it's a totally different vibe in Minneapolis. You know me, I'm a social guy. I like to joke. I say hi to people. I go, God, you look familiar. And then you know, you find out that, you know, he was on
Went
your
to
baseball team at Longfellow or something, you know, or you knew
right.
his cousin Eddie. But nobody's like that now. You know, they're fucking in buying their groceries. They're getting the hell out of there. And, you know, you go to Cub Foods, you know, because you know me. I mean, I still shop right where they burned the third precinct at
Right.
Cub Foods and Aldi, right? My friends are like, gee, You shop there where they burned down the third precinct? Well, yeah, it's my neighborhood, man. You know, and but it's just a total different vibe everywhere you go. I mean, it's hard to explain. It's just like people are like, maybe it's because I look like I'm ice or something, but it's like, I'm like, God, what, why isn't nobody like, being social?
Well,
It's true.
we have a we have a burden to bear, and if they don't know us, we look like we could be Trump the Fox. We're old white guys. We're
Yeah.
65 years old. We're technically baby boomers. And to a lot of people, that's the enemy. And I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of baby boomers that I don't fucking like. We're the younger baby boomers, but we're still in that realm. And when I walk down the street, um, inevitably somebody who may be a Trump humper will look at me and maybe nod at me like I'm one of them. And if they
Yeah.
only fucking knew, they would shit themselves.
Well, I'm pretty lucky to be in a total. I mean, I don't think there's one fucking Trump LaFuck on my whole block or the block in front of me or the block towards the river. I mean, I think the only fucking Trump LaFucks that would even be around this neighborhood are the ones that go to fucking Minnehaha Academy.
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
mean,
Where I live in a suburb on the West End, half this town is kind of Trump fuck, and
no,
I don't really have a problem. The others are liberal. We have the real wealthy people that live a short distance away from us, and I would guess most of them are Trump humpers because it's all about money to them. I don't I don't really run into any problems with it, but there are places Cindy and I will go and we'll look around and go, let's get the fuck out of here. I don't want to see Trump 2024 flag.
yeah,
If that's in the fucking bar I'm in, we're gone.
yeah. See, you get the fuck out of there because you think there's too many Trump LaFucks, and I've been into places where people think I got to get the fuck out of here because this looks a little too rough for me, you know,
Yeah.
or the food's going to be too hot, you know. But let me ask you something, Mike. Where
Yeah.
do you draw the line between a Trump LaFuck and what we used to call a Republican?
I don't draw the line anymore.
You don't.
Because you got the hardcore base, the Trump fucks. They're irredeemable. They're gone. They're done. But I have a problem with all Republicans. When you look at what happened in Congress, whether they are more of a reasonable mind or more moderate or more centrist, they still supported this shit. And that's where my problem lies with this. Even if you're like Massey, who was helping with the Epstein files and all that sort of stuff, I still have a problem with him because he's been there for whatever years he's been there. And up to this point, he supported Donald Trump. Apparently, the Epstein files is his red line. They are part and parcel as to why Donald Trump has the power he has now. And when you, for me, it's different because if you've done something or supported something that's going to harm my kids or my grandkids, that's a fucking bridge too far. I can't forgive you.
I gotcha. And like guys like Massey, you almost wonder if they're already kind of starting the march, so to speak, to fucking try to save their ass with their constituents who, you know, to me, it seems to me like wherever you come from, you're always gonna have constituents that are, oh geez, I gotta vote for him because I've always fucking voted for a Republican.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my grandpa voted for a Republican and my daddy voted for a Republican, but they're salt of the earth Midwesterners, right? And
Right.
when you say Trump fuck, the first thing that comes to my mind is you know, the guy fucking coming out of his double wide in fucking Arkansas that's, got his arm around his fucking sister and, fucking barefooted and, has a mullet hanging out the back with a
Well, that's
wife
pretty
beater
much
on.
what it is. That's
Well,
pretty
I
much
know,
what
but
it
but
is.
then but then you have to look at, the Republicans, let's just say from the Midwest, like, there's a lot of God fearing Republicans in Iowa. I've been down there pheasant hunting and sat at tables with farmers sharing stories. And, I don't know if they're a Trump-a-fuck. I'm assuming they are because most of them down there are. I mean,
Right.
but they're just the nicest, down to earth Christian people that are they misled to vote for Trump then? I mean, how many of them Christians that I don't call the fucking MAGA Christians down there? What do you call them? The it might come to me, but
You
these
talk
are
about
salt.
evangelicals, the
Yeah, the
religious folks?
evangelicals. These are salt of the earth. Norwegian Lutherans, and I can't believe that. You keep hearing, oh, Donald Trump's a pedophile. Oh, Donald Trump, well, he might have said that, but he didn't mean it. Well, they're compiling all these things that wouldn't you think sooner or later you would go, the Republican Party is a bunch of fucking boot-licking billionaire fucking butt
Yeah,
lickers? And why would
yeah,
I vote for them?
exactly. Exactly. You would think that.
Yeah.
But like you say, you've got the people that always voted Republican and they're just going to vote Republican. But they've seen all the same things we've seen. They've heard all the same things we've heard. Yet they either uninformed, misinformed, or ill-informed, or don't give a fuck, or are complicit with the situation. Here's my problem with regular Republicans. They voted for this. When I run into Republicans that they think they're more moderate, they still will not step back from Donald Trump. They can't admit they're wrong. I told a story about a guy that wrote me a note, and he went out in his yard and he knew the lady next door was a Trump-a-fuck, and she comes over and says, I just want you to know I don't agree with anything that's going on with ICE. I think it's a terrible situation. And then he asked her, well, if the election were today, would you still vote for Donald Trump? And she said yes.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, my problem is these people, even if they seem reasonable, but they voted for Donald Trump, I don't feel like I can trust them. The next goofball bandwagon that comes along, they're just going to jump back on it.
Yeah, that's a tough one, ain't it? And how much of that have they been influenced just by Fox News?
Well, yeah.
You know, I got good friends up at the lake. I'm out in rural Minnesota they're all Trumpers, and some of them voted for Obama because they just really liked the message that Obama was sending. So they went from voting for Obama to now watching Fox News and saying how Donald Trump is like the best thing since sliced bread, especially with the farmers because he'll tariff the fuck out of them. They can't sell any of their beans, but yet he's going to fucking give them a $15 billion bailout, and they're like, yeah, he's my man. As the fucking
Well,
soybeans are sitting in their bins rotting.
they're getting a $15 million bailout, but what they need is more like 40 or 50 billion.
Well,
So a
yeah,
lot of these people are going to die on the vine. You talked about your relatives that are Trump fans are in agriculture. My question is, has Donald Trump saved you yet? And I'm guessing not.
no. Well, he don't fucking care about them. He only
No,
cares about the vote. If he
exactly.
cared about him, he never would have fucking got into trouble with China and said, China said, fuck, we're not going to buy any of your soybeans. We'll buy them from Brazil. Well, you don't get that back.
No, I mean, once they go, I mean, you know as well as I do, you've been in business, I've been in business. Once you lose somebody's business and they go someplace else and they're content, you're never getting that business back.
No,
Never.
no.
It's just not going to happen. And the whole thing with China, Donald Trump's been backpedaling since he did that. He put the tariffs on them. They said, we're not going to buy your soybeans. Then he comes back and said, we got him to agree to buy soybeans. But Donald Trump talks about deals that never really happened. They never bought the soybeans. The other thing people don't realize is the rare earth minerals that he wanted to get from Greenland. We were getting 90% of rare earth minerals from China. And China said, fuck you, we're not sending them anymore. So he had to figure out a way to get these rare earth minerals. Otherwise, he couldn't build computers or cell phones or anything like that.
It's funny that you said that because boy, I wish I wouldn't have speed read this article that I read today, and I'm gonna have to find it and send it to you. There's a rare earth mineral in Venezuela
Yeah.
and we don't want the oil. Trump's got a buddy that's got mineral rights in Venezuela, and it's a specific mineral that isn't found anywhere, but it's found in Venezuela. And then if you look at the deal that he's trying to make with Russia, who did he send over there?
Who did he send?
Kushner and
Oh,
uh, well, another guy is and then the guy that Russia sent is like a minister of like banks, and
yeah.
the way he made it sound is they're cutting this fucking deal because of mineral rights in Ukraine that are going to make Trump's fucking friends billions.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we
You
know
can
that
go
he
on.
was fighting to get the rights to Ukraine, and he says we're going to help you, and of course he hasn't helped them for shit. He's selling stuff to other countries who then give it to Ukraine. He can't bring himself to actually help Ukraine, even though when they, I don't know if you know this story, uh, when Russia broke up, Ukraine had a lot of nuclear weapons on its land. Russia and the United States said, you can't have these nuclear weapons. Tell you what, we will take those nuclear weapons, but don't worry, because Russia and and America will protect you at all cost. And then, of course, Vladimir Putin comes in and invades him, and Donald Trump saying "fuck you." So our word isn't worth a shit.
It is not worth a fucking shit. I feel sorry for fucking Zelensky in Ukraine. We've totally fucked them over.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But
It's
well, what do you
it,
think, Michael?
well, we're at that point. We're
Yeah,
at that point.
10:46. Holy shit.
Yeah, we usually go about an hour and a half, and that's where we're at right now,
Oh, really?
136. And I don't know
So
about you, but
your podcasts are that long, huh?
when I have a guest, they go an hour and a half. If it's just me, because I'm a lazy bastard, I only go about an hour. But if I got people on with me where I can take a breath now and then, I've got some people that come on the podcast that talk so much, it's like a fucking day off for me.
So do like people chat with you when you do your podcast? Or are you just gonna air this thing and let her go? And then I don't even
Just
know how they
goes
work, Mike. I don't.
It just goes. I do this and I put it up just like you see it here. Uh,
Okay.
and 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 I'll tell you what I always tell everybody on the podcast is that if you ever want to come on, you got something to talk about, just text me and you'll come on. That's always how we do it. And I'll guarantee you, after this airs, there'll be comments on YouTube and stuff, and people will want you back. So plan on coming back at some point when you feel
Well, we'll
comfortable.
see. We'll see. So like if I want to watch it tomorrow, do I just go to like
You go to YouTube or Spotify.
YouTube or Spotify and it's just Rational Boomer?
Yeah, Rational Boomer podcast. It'll come up. You can
What
probably even Google the shit and it'll come up.
what time does it come on at?
It's 10:48. It'll probably go on at 12:15 uh, tonight or tomorrow morning. You know,
Okay.
right after midnight.
Okay.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, Mike, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you on. I enjoy talking to somebody I've known so long, and we don't get the chance to talk that much, so we'll have to do that more and get to
Well,
Ted
the
Cook's
last
ribs
time
and
I saw you was at Bobby's birthday party out there at Joe Sensor's
Bobby's.
Funk.
Oh, Bobby Funk. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 That was a
So,
long time ago. That
but
was, I mean,
we
I
got a
see you on
date.
Facebook. We definitely got a
You got
date.
it. I cannot fucking believe you had not have Ted Cook's barbecue ribs. Oh,
Yeah. Well, it's a shame that had to deal with for 65 years, and I don't know why. I don't know why.
well, if you're a rib guy, I'm going to tell you, I just had them and they are so good.
Yeah, I've had ribs everywhere, and not all of them are good.
It's
So I'm
old,
looking forward to
it's
that.
old school with the JoJo's and stuff. And, you get it. I always tell Moses, don't throw the bread in there because he gives you, two pieces of, or a piece of white bread and a piece of wheat bread. It's like, I don't want the bread.
No, we don't
Give
want
me the
them.
coleslaw and the Joes and the ribs and we're good. But
Yeah,
all
that
right,
sounds
brother.
good. All right.
Well, hey,
For
I just
those of
want
you
to
listening,
say, fucking Southside strong. I think we got them right where we want them. I never wanted them here in the first place, but they're going to be out of here soon.
And to give an old South Side kind of sense, an attitude, I tell people we handed Bovino's ass to him. We kicked it while it was in his hands. We stuffed him in the locker, took his lunch money, and fucked his mom.
Oh, I just wanted to fucking give him one of these.
No
All
shit.
right,
No
Mike.
shit.
Good to see you, boy.
For those of you listening, thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.